Hello, hello. Welcome to Media Queen TV. We have the amazing Katherine Minett with us today, and we have another hot topic for you today on Media Queen TV. We're going to be chatting about the sales confidence formula. And Katherine is an absolute expert in this. She's a sales success business coach and trainer with more than 30 years of frontline corporate sales experience. She's the founder of the Minett Sales Academy. She trains and coaches network marketers and direct sales business owners who are struggling to convert their leads to customers, to go from feeling frustrated, tired, and stuck to confidently making sales, achieving growth in their business, and impacting the world with their products. Welcome, Katherine.
Thank you very much, Aldwyn. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great to have you here, Katherine. And I know you have a bit of an accent. I do believe you are in Brisbane. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm in Brisbane, but obviously you picked up the accent. I wasn't born here, but I've spent most of my adult life living in Brisbane. I'm originally from Liverpool in the UK.
Fantastic.
But I've lost that real strong Scouse accent.
Yeah, I love it. Actually, I know someone who started the Liverpool Jazz Club in the UK, believe it or not, a lady called Helen Langley here on the Gold Coast. She started the Liverpool Jazz Club. She's from Liverpool as well. So we actually went to
Jazz Club on the Gold Coast.
No, in Liverpool in the UK, in Liverpool in the UK. She was from Liverpool, and she started the jazz club over there. And we actually worked together as journalists at the Sun newspapers 20 odd years ago.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, there you go. So she was from Liverpool. She always used to joke about the Scouse accent there as well. So welcome, Katherine. Welcome.
Do you know where the name Scouse comes from?
No. Where does it come from?
An Irish stew. It's lamb and potatoes and carrot. And back in the day, long time ago, when they didn't have much money, they used to eat scouse. It was made with like mutton, like it was a cheap meal, and they lived off it. And so they became Scousers, and we're still known as Scousers today.
Amazing. Well, there's a bit of trivia for you. I would never have known. Thank you for sharing that. We always learn something every day, don't we? Awesome. Now, Katherine, we actually met on a BX event recently. For those who are in BX networking, we met on that. And then recently we're at a great event with Sharon Jerd as well. And so it's been fantastic. You've been in my radar quite a few times just in the last month or so. And you'll be interviewing me on your show as well coming up, which is very exciting. And in fact, that's how this all began, is that you voted me the best 40-second pitch on the BX event. You said the prize is to be interviewed on your show. And I said, fantastic. Well, I'd love to interview you on my show too. So this is another beautiful exchange, just like we did with John Sansoni from Dallas, Texas, our earlier interview today, which was about building rapport to boost your business. And we were talking about how you don't have a business if you don't have sales. And yet sales for a lot of people is a dirty word, right? We were covering some of that ground. So I'm very curious, Katherine, if you tell us a bit about your background and what was it that brought you to Australia?
Brought me to Australia. Well, I came out when I was about 25. I'd come out here originally as a backpacker in 1987. And while I was working as a cook and deckhand on a prawn trawler, cut a long story short, I ended up marrying the owner and skipper of the boat. And then went back to England for a few years because I was still a student. I was backpacking as a student. So I had to go back and finish I was doing a degree in business and marketing. And so I went back for a couple of years. And then eventually I emigrated. And it was very easy for me to emigrate at that time. I mean, we're talking like about 33 years ago. And it was easy because I'd been married to an Australian for a couple of years. So it was easy. I mean, it's a lot harder now to be able to emigrate. But I emigrated in 91. So I've been here for quite a long time. And as I say, most of my adult life. So I'm definitely Australian. And I got the certificate which says I'm an Australian within a couple of years, because I was always afraid that they might change the rules and send anyone back who wasn't an Australian citizen. So I'm definitely an Australian citizen, but I still have a little bit of a Liverpool accent.
Yes, fantastic. Well, I love your accent personally. I think it's a beautiful accent, and it is still quite strong. It might not be to you, but I can still definitely hear that accent there. So that's wonderful. What a beautiful story that is. And how are you finding Australia compared to the UK?
Well, what I like about Australia is the sunshine, because
Yes.
it's a bit cold, and it can be cold and wet and a bit miserable, especially in the winter when it goes dark at 4 o'clock. And so you're walking to work or school. It was me mainly school time, walking to school in the morning and it was dark, and then walking back again and it was still dark. So I like sunshine. Despite the red hair and the fair skin, so I can't sit out because I burn to a crisp. But I do like it warm weather. I wear Factor 50 sun cream, and I have for 25 years since I've been, or 30 years now since I've been here. And I always, the hat goes on, long sleeves when I'm out bushwalking or down by the beach. But I love the weather and I love the lifestyle. And this is home now. So this is where I've brought up my family, and I've had many jobs. I've met many people. I've got a big social network in Australia, and I've only been back a few times to the UK just to visit family. And but every time I flew back to Australia and landed in Brisbane, I always felt like I was coming home.
Wow, beautiful. And I must say, of all the times I've been overseas, and I've been to Manchester and London during winter, and I was absolutely frozen. I'm sure I just, turned into an ice block in about 5 minutes. It was insane.
Yeah, I remember my first sales job was in the UK. And I remember in the winter, you talk about turning into an ice block. I remember going out for a sales call, and I had the suit on with the stockings and the court shoes. It was snowing. I don't know why I was wearing court shoes, but I remember standing in the back of the car. My feet were frozen because I was standing in this icy puddle, and I was leaning over the boot while the snow was coming down the back of my neck. And I remember at that point thinking, I really don't like sales, because I didn't like being out in the weather and having my feet being frozen off. So,
gosh,
harder to be a person in the UK than it is in Brisbane, that's for sure.
Oh, and we think we have it hard here. I must say, about 25 years ago, I did a door-to-door sales job, and that was one of the most challenging things I have ever done in Brisbane. And in Brisbane, they've got a whole lot of old Queenslanders, as you know, and there's the big steps that go right up to the top. So you had to walk up and down these steps. I mean, one thing for sure is I got great exercise doing it. However, it was one of the most challenging jobs, absolutely, I have ever done, is door-to-door sales.
And what specifically you didn't like about it? What was the hardest thing?
Oh my gosh. Well, firstly, you're knocking on complete strangers' doors. And sometimes I would be knocking at nighttime. It'd be 6, 7 o'clock at night. And so there was a time, it was actually a bit scary sometimes, because you didn't know who you were going to get on the other side of the door. And as a single young woman, I was, 20 odd, early 20s. It was a little bit, there were some houses I knocked on and people answered, and I thought, I don't really know if it's safe to be talking to this person right now. So there was the safety factor that didn't feel comfortable. And the other thing was, it just felt weird. It just kind of felt weird going to complete strangers and saying, here, do you want to buy my product?
Yeah.
Right. And I know now, having done a lot of sales training, I know that sales is service, right? And I know that if someone really wants your product, then offer your product. But in this case, when you're doing, it was like, cold calling, when you're going to complete strangers, you don't even know them from a bar of soap. And there you are saying, here's my great product, come and buy this thing. It was one of the weirdest things I can say I've ever done.
Yep. And that is why people have a real bad idea about what selling is. And because that's not what selling is. I mean, that you're getting sent, doing the cold calling. It's like being in the dungeons of hell. I mean, really, it is the worst thing to have to do, whether it's cold calling on the telephone or door knocking, I think is even worse. But you're doing it at 6 p.m. at night. I don't know about you, but if someone was to knock on my door at 6 p.m. at night, I don't even answer. I don't answer my phone or anything, because that is dinner time. It's family time. It's precious. I'm not interested to get sold to. And I think the reason why a lot of business owners and network marketers and anyone who does direct selling, the reason why they hate selling is because they've got this negative idea about what selling is. And that negative idea of what selling is comes from people like you who are knocking on the door at 6 p.m. thrusting their product down their throat, which they're not interested in. It's the wrong time. You're just interrupting them. It's all about you standing on the doorstep wanting to thrust the product down the throat, rather than being focused and interested in the prospect in front of you. And so that has to be the absolute worst way to start a sales conversation. And for anyone who's experienced being on the other side of that poor way of selling and introducing yourself, you don't want to be that person. I mean, I don't want to be the person who is rudely interrupting me at 6 p.m. Well, why would you ever want to be a salesperson? And so this is a big problem, because all these business owners who need to do direct sales and network marketers who have to go and talk to people, they don't want to be that person. They don't want to be a salesperson, because they don't want to come across as being salesy and pushy and, you know, con artist, or they don't want to be seen as manipulating. And yet they need to be able to go and sell in order to get cash flow, to be able to, you know, sell their products and grow their business. So they've got a bit of a disconnect here. They've got the, yes, I need to go out and sell, but I don't want to be a salesperson. So I always say it's a bit like having your foot on the accelerator and the brake at the same time.
Yes.
What happens when you've got your foot on the accelerator and the brake at the same time?
You stall.
You stop. You go nowhere. You spin around. You get a lot of smoke, tires burning, doing donuts. You don't move forward. And that's just like for a lot of people in business who haven't been trained. They haven't got the confidence to sell. They haven't been trained. They haven't got the sales skills. They just think they've got to go out and talk to as many people as possible and do a verbal vomit of their products and services in front of the person. And they think that's what selling is. But at the same time, they don't want to do it. And so they don't do it. But if they do it, they're not doing it well. And so it just, this whole negative feeling about selling just gets worse and worse. And that's a big problem. And my goal is to try and eradicate that. It's to educate people, especially these business owners who have to sell, so that they can learn how to sell confidently and how to sell the right way, so they don't come across as being pushy and sleazy and salesy.
Yes, absolutely. I totally get it. And I did get the door slammed in my face a few times. Yeah. And then I had some older guys trying to come on to me at the, they say, I'll come down the back of the house. And then they'd be, all having a great time and trying to come on to me. So it was a very weird experience. But one thing I did get from the 2 weeks of door-to-door selling is that we had sales meetings with all the reps that were going out for the day.
Yep.
And one thing we did with the team huddle in the morning is we put on these invisible suits. We pretended to wear these suits, right? That were invisible. We zip it up, we do it up, and then we put the pants on, and it was an invisible suit. And we called this suit a shit suit. And so what that meant is that anyone who threw shit at us, it would just bounce off, right? So this is our the invisible shit suit. So ever since then, I've been using this invisible shit suit as a way that if any crap comes my way, it just bounces off. I don't take it on board.
Okay. I have never heard of that. That was never in any of the sales training that I received. And I don't teach that, but maybe I'll include it.
The shit suit.
I've never heard of it. But, I suppose from a mental, for building confidence and being able to not let the shit stick.
Yes.
It's about not taking on things on board that are going to affect you mentally. I mean, obviously there's a strategy behind it, and I can understand why they'd want to teach you that, because what they were sending you out to do, cold calling at 6 p.m. on your own, which was, I wouldn't feel safe doing that either, is to expect a lot of shit to come at you. So, what a great way to head off in the evening, ready to...
Well, actually, I've been doing it all day. It's just often I would finish my shift at like 7 p.m. or something like that, because in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this area today, and I wouldn't finish until I'd finished that area for the day. And so I just did all that. And, that was my determined nature as a young 20-something-year-old. I was about 22 or something in Brisbane at the time. And I was doing 5 casual jobs. I was writing, I was a photographer, I was doing market research, I was doing telemarketing, and I was doing door-to-door sales. And it was just insane. I don't know what I was thinking, because I was getting taxed 50% on every other job I was doing, but I was out looking for full-time work, and I was meanwhile doing 5 part-time jobs. It was insane. I think there was some kind of subconscious belief that you have to work hard for your money.
Yeah. And I hope you know now that that's actually not true. It's about working smart, not hard. And certainly, it shouldn't be about putting yourself into a situation where you don't feel safe. And you shouldn't be putting yourself in a situation where you're expecting people to throw shit at you. I mean, that's just awful.
Insane.
I'm grateful that never happened to me. That was not my sales experience.
Oh my gosh. I tell you what, thank goodness I've done a lot of personal development since then. Thank goodness. I've invested a lot into my personal business development since that. In fact, $500,000 plus in my personal business development since that. And thank goodness for that, because otherwise I'd probably be a complete mess now and totally traumatized from that experience.
Absolutely. Well, it's good. And I highly recommend that personal development area. And, personal development, when you think about it, we're not taught this in school. We're not taught personal development skills.
No.
We're not even taught sales skills. I mean, you might be taught business skills, very sort of theoretical. I know when I did my degree, it was very theoretical. I didn't learn how to sell from doing in my degree. There was nothing about sales training. So when I came out and I got my first sales job, I didn't know anything about selling because I hadn't been taught it. And I've not been taught that no personal development at that stage. I was about 25. I hadn't heard of Tony Robbins at that stage. And so I went out in my first sales job without confidence, no personal development to draw on, and no sales skills. And I was pretty well told, probably similar to you, it's like, here's the telephone and here's the yellow pages. Look up. So I had to do the telephone calling to get the appointments. And I was selling to nursing homes and tattoo parlors and vets and places like that. Because I was selling a clinical waste disposal unit. Shops for needles. That's why, vets and tattooists, anywhere where the shops were being disposed, or soft clinical waste as well. So hospitals and nursing homes. And so I knew I had a target. I wasn't like go to everybody. Like you, sounds like you were just doing every door in a suburb. Bang, 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 bang.
Exactly right. That's what I was doing.
It was like trying to find your actual ideal customer. No wonder you had to wear that suit before you went out. At least I was being targeted to, and I did focus, although I could do a lot of different hospitals and medical facilities, I did target specifically nursing homes to begin with, so I could get good at that. But I had to use the yellow pages and call them up and make that call. And I was terrified because without the training, I didn't really know what to say. There was no script. It was like, just call and make an appointment. But even knowing how to make an appointment so that you got the best use of your time on the telephone, there's an art and a skill to that. And if you're not taught, you might end up getting a few appointments, but not as many appointments as you would like. So there's a lot of wasted time. And then, of course, when you got the appointments and be like, yeah, I've got an appointment, then the next fear would kick in, because I'd drive out to the nursing home and then I had to have a conversation with someone about the product I was selling, and I really didn't know how to sell it. So what did I do? I just thought selling, like a lot of people think, that selling is just telling the other person, the prospect, about your product. Look how wonderful my product is. It does this, it does this, it does this. How many do you want? But that's not selling. That's not selling. And needless to say, I wasn't very successful in my first sale job. So combine that with standing at the boot, like I said earlier, with my feet in a puddle of icy water, the snow going down the back of my neck, and coming out of a sales call where I just had rejection all day long, was when I decided I hated selling and I didn't want to do selling as a career. And that was my first sale job back in 1991. And yet here I am today. I'm still selling. So obviously something changed.
Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely. Something definitely changed. And it's interesting because when I did my telemarketing too, I remember one job, I worked with this company called Spray Seal in Brisbane, and we were cold calling we had a list of people to call, and we're cold calling. We'd say, hi, Mrs. Smith, what's the condition of the roof on your house? This would be the first question we would ask. Hi, Mrs. Smith. And I remember after so many calls of saying, hi, Mrs. Smith, hi, Mr. Jones, Mr. whoever, right? So many times saying, what's the condition of the roof on your house? I remember this one time, I said, hi, Mrs. Smith, what's the condition of the roof on your head? And I had to hang up the phone. I was just pissing myself laughing. I thought, this is, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. But like literally, I was going crazy with this line going over and over. And every month I would lose my voice doing telemarketing. And I think that's telling you something. When you lose your voice every month, I think your body is telling you maybe it's time to do something different.
Absolutely. And it would get very boring as well. So your motivation would be falling flat as well, just doing same, picking up the phone, same conversations. Yeah. I've never actually done a job as a salesperson. I did have to pick up the phone and make appointments, but I would then go out and do the calls. And in my career, I've been a business development manager, I've been an account manager, I've been a sales, I've been product specialist, I've been called all sorts of things. Good titles, I've been called all sorts of things. Good titles, different titles in my career. But ultimately, they all generally mean the same thing. You're selling or representing a company and you're selling their products. And in my experience, it's like at the end of the day, the skills are very similar. They cross over. Some roles you're purely selling the product and just talking about the product every day. And then in other roles, a bit more account management, you are selling, but you're also managing the account. So there's that looking after the customer after they've purchased the product. Then there's the BDM role, the business development role, where you're very much targeted of getting that new business in. It's all about finding new business. And then maybe a support person, a clinical or technical person would look after the account. Once you've got the business, you sort of hand it over for them to look after. So there's a lot of different elements of a career of selling and different titles and different roles. But at the end of the day, the key selling skills are required for all of them. So, and whether you're employed as a salesperson, BDM, product specialist, or you're self-employed selling services or products, everyone needs these skills.
Absolutely. And we've got David Kavanagh here. Now, David Kavanagh, good to see you, my friend from Thailand. Now, he says, go Aldwyn, go. Now, David is an absolute legend when it comes to all things marketing online. He is absolute legend. And he's a great salesperson as well. And David, in fact, I'm going to be going to his internet marketing summit in Thailand in just a few months. I went last year and loved it. So thanks for joining us here, David. And for those joining us also here on the live, for others, let us know where you're joining us from and what's one thing you're grateful for today. Let's get into some gratitude here, because it's very easy to whinge about things that we don't like in life. It's very easy to get on a trail of whinging. And I think when it comes to sales and being confident around sales, it's very important how we speak to ourselves and the conversations we have going on in our own head. So let's dig a bit deeper into this sales confidence formula, please, Katherine, and share a bit about that.
Okay, the sales confidence formula, this came about because with all my experience in sales, so doing sales training, because what happened is when I left the UK, I ended up quitting that first job I told you about, selling clinical waste. I quit that job and I emigrated. I quit before I got fired and I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't reaching targets. So I got out and I emigrated to Australia at that point. And so then I had to get another job. And the only experience I had on my resume was sales, even though I wasn't good at it. However, just the fact that I'd actually been out doing it and giving it a go, I did pick up some skills. And so I applied for a job because, again, I needed a company car. So I got a job in sales. And it was another small business, which didn't teach me sales training. It was just product training again, and off you go. I was doing nursing homes again. So that was easy because I understood the nursing home market. And so I went out, and this time I decided, well, I need to get my own sales skills because no one's giving it to me, and I'm just going to fail again if I don't do something about it. So I took responsibility. I bought a book, the first book I got, and I've still got it. It's a bit yellow and grungy now, but it's the Tom Hopkins, How to Master Sales. It's How to Master. There we go. I've even got it. There you go. How to Master the Art of Selling. Look at it. It's so brown.
Gosh, that's
look at it. That was the original book that I got back in the 90s. I also attended sales training. I got sales tapes. So my car became my university and I was listening to these tapes. But I also did the personal development stuff. I had a guy called Earl Nightingale. Do you remember Earl Nightingale? He had a real deep voice.
Yes.
He used to talk about motivation. So it was all about the mind and positive thinking. And so I started to learn the personal development stuff. So all about the way you think and how you approach people, and when something doesn't go your way, how do you respond to it, all that sort of stuff. What are the stories that you're telling yourself in your head? So I started to get exposed to more personal development. And what I realized as well over the years, after those small businesses I worked in, family businesses, I then got jobs in bigger companies, so multinationals. So I started working in pharmaceutical sales and medical sales. So some of the big named companies, multinational American and European companies, and they gave great training. So for the first time, I started to get proper sales training and coaching. So the manager would come out on the road with you and give you feedback. Some were better than others, obviously. So I started to get, and I was out and about every day, putting everything I was learning into practice. But one thing that they never taught in the big pharmaceutical companies, and even when I was a sales trainer myself, when I lived in Sydney, I was a sales trainer for a company. And even then I was teaching sales strategies and techniques. So how to have the conversation, basically. But none of these companies ever taught the confidence side of things. So if there was no personal development or sales confidence. So they just expected you to go out and implement these techniques. And the problem was a lot of people would drop by the wayside. They get a job in selling and then they fall off. They don't last long. And if they haven't done personal development and they haven't learned how to deal with their fears, deal with the fear of rejection, the fear of failure. Some people have the fear of success, the fear of making money. If they haven't dealt with their fears and their limiting beliefs, then they're not going to implement the sales strategies and the sales skills that they need to learn. If they get a no, they're going to be demotivated and they're going to be reluctant to go out again and give it another go. So the mindset part, that sales confidence, is critical. It's the foundation, and yet it's not taught. And so that's why my program is called the Sales Confidence Formula. And it's because it focuses firstly on that sales confidence. That's the first thing. The mindset stuff has to be dealt with first. Then I teach the strategies, the strategic sales strategies, and then the conversational skills and techniques so that you can have a productive conversation. So yeah, the confidence, the mindset stuff, the personal development work is critical to be successful in selling.
I love it. It's like the iceberg, right? It's like the tip of the iceberg is, if you have fear around selling, then you're not going to do much about it. You're going to avoid it, right? Yeah. And so actually getting conscious to, okay, do I have some fear around selling here? Do I have fear? And I mean, I know because we don't like to be rejected, right? And a lot of people feel that, if they're going to sell something, that they might get rejected. And I know, I've certainly been rejected a lot in my life. However, really, you've got to toughen yourself up to criticism. You've got to toughen yourself up to those no's, because your product's not going to suit everyone anyway. It's okay to have some no's, right?
Yeah, so there's a mindset, understanding. I call it there's a sliding scale of urgency. Now, there's a very small percentage of people who are ready to purchase your product when you're in front of them. So you may have got sales, Aldwyn, when you knocked on the door at 6 p.m. on one night selling your product. There might have been a few people, a small percentage, that actually went, oh my goodness, thank God you're here. I need your product now. Where do I sign? I mean, it's a very small percent. It is possible.
There were some lonely people. There were some lonely people, Katherine. Yes, there were.
Lonely people, they would have bought anything. So there's a small percentage. But most people are not ready to purchase your product when you're in front of them. Now, we want to try and get in front of the people that are ready and who are close to buying. But sometimes you get in front of someone and you realize they are just not ready. And some people will never be ready. They are never going to be your ideal customer. So you don't want to waste too much time. And this is why knowing who your ideal customer is, being able to target specifically for that particular person is very important. Because if you don't, you're going to be wasting your time knocking on a lot of doors and getting shit thrown at you because they're not interested. Number one, you need to work out who you're actually selling to. Who is your ideal person? What is the problem that they have that your product or service solves? It's that simple, really, when you break down selling, is someone should have a problem and your product or service should be able to solve that problem. Now,
Yes.
if that is the case, then you've got an ideal client. If someone has got that problem to your product, then they're not going to ever be interested. So stop talking to them.
Yes. Now,
interested.
Yeah, well, interestingly, when I was doing door-to-door selling in Brisbane, we knocked on everyone's doors because we were selling a movie card. Now, I would say probably 99% of the population like movies, right? So we were, in that case, it was actually a very wide demographic, right? Most people like movies. I mean, if I don't know anyone who doesn't like movies. It's kind of like music. Is there anyone out there that doesn't like music, right? So in that case, it was really the door-to-door selling. I guess that was the strategy, is just to go out to as many people. Anyone who has a breath and who has some life in them, will just, anyone who's a human being will just sell this product. However, for a lot of people watching this, and a lot of people have product services specifically that do suit a certain market more than others. We've got Frank here, actually, Frank Di Bartolo. Good to see you from Sydney. Now, Frank runs Pacific Hi-Fi. And he said his first sales book was the one that you popped up before. Actually, do you have that there just to show that book again for those who missed it earlier? My first sales book, Frank says, here it is, How to Master the Art of Selling. It actually looks like it's from the 1950s or 60s. It looks like an early Star Trek photo, that one there on the front. You said 1990, but it actually looks
like it was.
It looks.
I don't even know what date is on it.
It looks much older than 1990s.
It's $12.99, $12.99.
There you go. $12.99. Back in the days of tapes, and of course Frank knows everything about tapes because he's been in the AV industry for over 30, 40 years as well. And he says here, my staff need the confidence. Now, that's a good point too, Frank, for those that are running companies. Oh, here we go, 1978, he says. And I got to see him live. He saw him live. Amazing. Please share your experience, Frank, what that was like. You saw him live. Amazing. 1978. There you go. There you go.
Wow.
I was born in 74, so I was 4 years of age when that book came out. Wow. Amazing. So Frank's sort of situation, his staff actually need the confidence. Now, no doubt he would also need the confidence. But, obviously, if you're going to be teaching sales confidence to someone, then you also need a certain level of confidence yourself, right, Katherine? So what if, for those out there that have been rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected over the years, how can they get this confidence?
Yeah. I think, it's dealing with those negative beliefs. It's dealing with that monkey chatter in the head. And we all have it. This is the thing. We all have the little voice in the head that says things like, you're not good enough. They're going to reject you. Why are you doing this? I'm not worthy. I mean, there's a whole list of things that go on in people's head, or even going into a sales call thinking, oh, they're not going to be interested in this product. I mean, you're not really setting yourself up for success when you've got that little story going on in your head. So you have to believe in your product, for starters. Like, I would never sell a product I didn't believe in. I don't smoke. I don't believe in tobacco smoking. I would never sell cigarettes, because I don't believe in the product. So every product I have ever sold, I have believed in. I know that the product will solve a specific solution, a problem. It's the solution. My product is the solution for a specific problem. And I know that I am confident. I knew all the features and the benefits of the product. And I know that this product is going to change someone's life. Now, if it was a pharmaceutical or a medical device product, I knew that it was going to change lives. And so I had a real belief in my product. So that's a critical one. It's just that belief, believing in your product. But then you've also got to have that belief in yourself. And when you've got a belief in your product and a belief in yourself, then you're less likely to have the negative chatter going on. So how do you stop that negative chatter? Well, there's lots of techniques. I mean, it's worth digging deep to investigate in yourself. Where does that voice come from? Who is it? Whose voice is it? Is it a teacher's voice? Is it someone that, at school told you weren't good enough? Or maybe it was one of your parents had told you, you're not going to be good enough. You're going to end up, working in a chicken factory or something, and you'll be good for nothing. Or maybe it was a sibling, a bullying sibling, or maybe it was a bully at school. Somebody, when you were younger, may have sort of programmed your mind without you knowing. So it went into your subconscious. And you now are walking around replaying that voice of theirs in your head, and you don't even realize it. And so we tell ourselves these stories. So I like to tell my clients to spend time actually just listening to those stories, listen to what comes up and write them down and think about where they came from and how they got there in the first place. And then question, well, is it true? Is it actually true? Is there a truth to what? And often there isn't. Not as an adult, it's maybe 20, 30, 40 years, maybe 50 or 60 years later, people are carrying around stories in their head and they're just unconscious of them, but it stops them from achieving the things they want to achieve. And if you want to sell products and get out and sell, you need to be able to master those thoughts in your head. And you need to reprogram it with, the positive thoughts. And there's all sorts of ways of doing it, affirmations and we talked before we got on the call about how we both Aldwyn and I, we both prepare ourselves for meetings, whether it's an interview on a podcast or whether it's a sales conversation or whether you're getting on stage to do a presentation. There is a process that Aldwyn and I, we shared with each other our processes, and they're very similar. And it's about preparing our mind and preparing our body for how we're going to be, so we can be present when we're in front of our audience, whether it's an audience of one or an audience of thousands. So there's the strategies that we can put in place, and you and I both use them. So
we do. And being present is actually quite a skill. And it's something I must say for many years that I was not a good listener. In fact, I come from a European background where everyone just talks over each other. This is kind of how it goes in our family, right? It's very excited, very passionate people. We all tend to talk at once, right? And so,
same in Liverpool.
So it takes something to really be present, to really listen to someone in front of you, to really get what someone's saying. And for me, as I say, it's been a real challenge. I've been doing breath work, I've been doing yoga, I've been doing, everything to come present, because the fact is life will throw curveballs. Life will continually throw curveballs. And like just before this call, a big boo-boo happened on my social media that one of my assistants did something on my social media that I was like, what the hell has happened here? And now I've just taken on 5 assistants in the last 3 weeks. Okay. And while it's fantastic to build a team, it's like a baptism of fire. Now I've got five assistants, and we've just had a major stuff up on one of my Facebook accounts that just happened as we're preparing for this show. Right. So if I didn't let that go, then I couldn't be fully present here, and it's like I've sent a message to my assistants to say what's gone on here, right? And now I've just parked it, and I'll come back to that later, right? So that's an example. However, if you have something that throws you off guard, sometimes people hold on to these things for weeks or for months, right? And so it's important to be able to let them go, to be present. And as they say, we have 2 ears, 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we actually speak, right?
Yeah, and you've hit the nail on the head there. It's about that being present, but how are you present? Because if you can spend more time listening than you are talking, then that is a gift that you can give the person in front of you. Because a lot of people, they're not listening to really understand the person in front of them. They're listening to interrupt. They're listening to jump in and say, oh, that happened to me as well. Oh, yeah, I had the same experience. And they want to take the conversation back to themselves. Now, I would say is when you're having a sales conversation, you're going to imagine you've got a ball. And when you've got the ball, when you ask a question, you're throwing the ball to the other person. And you don't want the ball, okay? You want the other person to be holding the ball, or hot potato. Sometimes I call it hot potato. The hot potato, and I go, here, you have it. I ask a question. So now, your prospect is holding the hot potato. And they'll start talking because hopefully you've asked the right question and a good impact open question that's going to get them talking about what you want them to talk about. And they're now talking. If you interrupt, what you've done is you've taken the hot potato off them. And you don't want that hot potato. It's going to burn the hands. Now, eventually they will stop talking. And then there might be an opportunity to ask another question. So you're making sure they keep the hot potato by asking another question. And so this questioning technique is critical if you're going to be selling. And I imagine all your listeners have to sell at some stage. Even if you haven't got a product to sell, if you're a parent, you're selling to your kids or you're selling to your boss. You're selling to your peers, you're selling to your staff. We're all selling all the time. But by asking a really good quality question, an open impact question, to get the person in front of you talking, and like the hot potato, keep them talking, then listen to what they're saying. Because when you're listening to what they're saying, they're feeling like well, it's showing that it's creating that, like building that rapport, that they like you because you're listening and you're interested. Not many people give them that opportunity. They know you, they like you, and they will begin to trust you more the more that you're listening to them. Because when you listen to them as well, you can use their words back to them. So that's quite critical when you're having a sales conversation, because you want to be listening for key words. So whatever words they use, you want to, you don't go back like a tape recorder and repeat exactly what they said, but you'd paraphrase what they've said so that you're demonstrating that you understand them. So you might clarify and paraphrase back to them to demonstrate that you have been listening. And they go, yeah, that's right, you got it. And they're saying in their mind, they're saying, oh, she understands me, he understands me. So the more you can ask them quality questions and listen and use their language back to them, the better the sales conversation will be. So there's a skill and an art involved, and most business owners have never learned how to do it. Maybe some people have read the book and there are other books. It's definitely a skill you need to master.
Yeah, I love that. And Frank says when he saw that the person in the book there, who's the author of that book?
Tom Hopkins.
Tom Hopkins, right. How to Master the Art of Selling, Tom Hopkins. So Frank said he got to see him live in 1978. The book came out. Amazing day. I think I saw him twice. He says, I think I saw him twice. And he's just mentioning now, I call this active listening, what we were just talking about, active listening, when you really hear what people say, you really get what people say, yes. Because, there's a great card I saw once. It said, very rarely do we communicate. We just take turns talking. Right? So to actually communicate, to really get what someone's saying, people want to feel that they're not alone with whatever it is they're feeling, they're doing, etc. They want to feel that somebody else gets them, right? In fact, it's part of the herd mentality. It's part of as human beings, we want to stay safe by being part of the clan, right? Yeah. And this is the big thing to overcome when it comes to sales. Is it's okay sometimes with sales that people are going to say no to your product sometimes, right? That's okay, right? And however, our hindbrain, our humanness, we want to be liked by everyone. We want everyone to buy our stuff, etc. However, if your product is not a match to the person who's in front of you looking for something, then refer them on. You don't need 8 billion customers, right? So
no, you don't.
Yeah,
so
crucial.
And that referring, I mean, like I said, there was the sliding scale. So you've got someone who's ready to buy now, someone at the other end will never buy. And then you've got this scale in between. And so it's finding those people at this end who are ready to buy or soon will want to buy or will want to buy eventually. And it's about, so every sales conversation with the right target market, the target client is not wasted, because even if they're not ready to buy now, if you nurture that relationship, if you build that relationship, you keep in touch with them, you put them in your CRM, and you have follow-up meetings, you give value whenever you can. When eventually they are ready to buy, you're then front of mind. You're going to be the first person they think about. And I had an experience where in a hospital, I was selling a device, a vascular access device. And they were using a competitor product. It was a private hospital, and they were happy. So when I walked in, it was this nurse unit manager in the ICU, and she said, "Look, your predecessor used to come all the time and hassle me. I don't want you doing that." And I said, "That's fine. How about when I'm in the hospital, I just pop in, check you're okay, and see if there's any." Just to say hello and see if there's anything you need. And she said, yes. So I got that agreement up front that it was okay to pop in. And I would, whenever I was around, I'd pop in. Sometimes I'd say, hi, how you going? Just in the hospital, everything good? Because they did use other products of ours. And she would just say, yeah, all good, thanks, Katherine. Yeah. And I'd see she was busy, so I respected that. And I'd go, okay, see you next time. That's fine. And sometimes she would actually say, actually, I'm glad you're here. I've got a problem with a product, or I'm looking for a particular product. Do you do it? And she'd pull me into her office, and we'd sit down and have a chat. But the main product I wanted was this particular vascular access device. It was called a PICC line. And after it was about 2 years of building that relationship with her, one day I got a phone call. And it was from her. She was actually, and she'd never done that before, but she contacted me and she was asking about my device, my PICC line. And what had happened is they had changed the company that they were using. They were changing to an upgrade, a different type of device, same market, but different type of device. And they were having problems with this device. It wasn't working. And the medical imaging department who inserted them were not happy. And so she called me in so that I could come and talk to her about my products. So I did. I came in, we had the meeting. Now it took a while because obviously the competitor wanted to get in and save their business. But I was patient, kept the relationship going. But eventually they said, no, I'd like to trial your product. So we brought it in, we did a trial. Everybody was happy and they changed over. And so I won the business in the end. Now, if I had gone in on that first appointment when I first met her and she said to me, oh, I don't want reps calling on me. I'm not interested. Don't harass me. I could have, continued to harass and pissed her off. Or I could have ignored her and said, oh, well, she's happy with her current supplier. I'm never going to get the business. I'll just stay away. Or the third option was what I did is I continued to build the relationship, continue to add value whenever I could. And so it's a bit like the Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold, something just right in the middle. And it was about respecting her wishes and what she wanted in terms of my communication and not crossing over that line. Now, it paid off. I ended up getting the business. So, but also, even if that hadn't have happened, there may have been other products that as new products come through, if I've got the good relationship with, as I did with her, I could come in and then present a new product that maybe there was an opportunity, there was a problem that I could solve with this new product. So I think my message here really is every sales call in front of you, the right target. Even if you don't get the sale today, you may get it in a week or months later, or you may even get it in a year's time. So the message is build a relationship. It's build your relationships with as many of your ideal clients as you can. Nurture them, respect them, because one day your opportunity will present itself where they will be ready and looking for a solution. And the first person they're going to pick up the phone and call is going to be you. And I've had that happen several times in my career. It worked for me then, and I'm sure it'll still continue to work for me today.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And in fact, I was just saying on the last interview I did earlier with John Sansoni about building rapport to build your business, we were talking about this exact thing and how it's important it is to be consistent and to keep putting yourself out there, keep doing what you're doing. And in fact, I've just had 2 clients come on board in the last 2 months in our Mass Media Mastery program. 2 clients, one I'd known for about 15 years, the other one I'd known about 10 years. She'd been actually following me about 10 to 15 years as well. And just in the last 2 months, they've both said they're now ready. They're now ready after 15 years, right? So this is the thing, you never know. You just never know. And you don't know who's following you and who's looking at your stuff online either. You don't.
Did you continue to develop the relationship, message them, or were they in your...
In fact, one of them I hadn't seen for probably 10 years. And when the minute she saw me, she's like, oh, Aldwyn, because obviously I put a lot of video content out. I've done 900 videos. And so a lot of people are seeing my stuff where I'm not actually directly communicating with them, but they follow me and they've been watching me. And when I actually asked her and spoke, she said, I've been following you for years. And she said, but you probably don't remember me. And I was like, and I'd looked at her and I thought, she looks kind of familiar, but really she was kind of, she'd been in the background for so long. I'm helping to promote other people. And now she said, well, now it's time for me to promote me. The other person, the 15-year relation, well, we'd stayed in touch as friends, business acquaintances over the years, just as, as friends. And I'd help her out with things and she'd help me out with things. And, I'd used her venue to to actually, do a workshop at her venue. And so we'd work together in different ways. We're involved in different social groups. But, I might have only seen her maybe once every few months or so in that period. However, we'd stayed in regular contact. But I think the thing is, when you're putting out a lot of content, like you're putting video content out, you're putting audios out, you're putting blog posts out, if you're very active on social media, you have no idea who's actually watching you, following you, who then one day when they're ready, which could be 15 years down the track, right, they'll say, right, I'm now ready. Right. So,
and the other thing with that, and it's a really good point, and that's a strategy of mine now, it's that I'm getting on people's podcasts, and I'm actually co-hosting my own. I'm going to be interviewing you as well shortly. And so and part of doing that is to create regular content. And by doing videos as well, live streaming like this is excellent. It's a really good way for people to get to know you. They get to see your face, they get to hear your voice, they get to learn from you. You get to position yourself as the expert in your topic, because you can tell your anecdotes and your stories, and they can see that you're genuine and you're real. And whether they decide to like you or not, it's irrelevant. There'll be enough people that do like you, that want to follow you and purchase from you eventually. And the people that don't like you, they might not like the color of your hair or the sound of your voice. They don't like your accent. Who knows? It doesn't matter. They'll just self-select and disappear. And like you said earlier, we don't need everybody in our business. We just need the people that we want to work with. And so the doing these podcasts and the blogging and all the other social media marketing that we can do today. And when you're in sales and in business, it's so important to put yourself out there. And if you're not used to being on a camera, well, get used to being on the camera. And the only way to do that, like anything, is to pull the camera out and start doing it. Because the more you do it, the better you will get at it, the more confident. And I'm sure when you started out doing podcasting, Aldwyn, you may have been a little bit nervous that first time and critical of yourself. Maybe, I know I was. But now you've done how many shows?
Well, yes. Well, that's right, Katherine. In fact, the first time I was on TV was at age 11. I was on Cartoon Connection in Sydney. And I remember being there for table tennis at the time. I was a top junior table tennis player in Australia. And I remember being in the Channel 7 studio, Cartoon Connection, and there was about 30 people in the studio. There was a massive camera back in the days of the massive cameras in the TV studios. I believe they still do have big cameras. But I remember this massive camera. It was about the same height as me at the time. And the TV host turned to me and said, Aldwyn, don't think of the 2 million people watching this right now.
So that's exactly what you did.
That's exactly what I did. Exactly. I looked at the camera and that's all I could think about was the 2 million people watching this right now. I froze. Yes. It was the worst interview ever. However, they did have a table tennis table in the back, and my brother and I got on. We started playing forehand to forehand. I thought, I'm just going to focus on this ball. I don't want to look at the 2 million people over there. Just going to focus on this ball. And they loved it. They thought it was fantastic. And we're thinking, well, hang on a sec. We're only warming up here. You haven't seen our smashes and our chops, and this is the thing, is the media want to entertain as well as educate, right? But I must say my first time on camera was shocking at 11. And so after many, many years of actually working as a journalist, for over 30 years or so, working as a journalist, interviewing a whole lot of people, then my confidence built over time. However, my first Media Queen TV shows, which actually I was doing shows on business and truth, etc., that's actually started 2016. I started to do those shows. And so it's been now 7 years or so I've been doing them. Now I've got 900 videos. We do the Global Good News Challenge every month, which is free marketing. I'm actually going to challenge everyone watching this right now. Free marketing for you, and a chance to get over yourself and build some confidence on camera is to do the Global Good News Challenge. And I'm going to pop a link in here. You can check it out. It's all about sharing gratitude and good news and lifting the energy on the planet. And I could talk for a whole hour about the Global Good News Challenge, but I won't. Most people can do it in about 3 minutes. So just check it out, Global Good News Challenge Facebook page. All the details are pinned to the top. We've got prizes this month. We get free promo. We promote your challenge out to thousands of people. It's fantastic, and it's about sharing gratitude and good news. So yes, shocking first experience. Back to your point there, Katherine. Shocking first experience on camera. However, I did build my confidence over time. And that's the thing, is that with everything you do, it's always going to be hard at the start, right? Everything you do is hard until it becomes easy. Yes. And that's building that practice, building the muscle, right?
Yeah.
So yes. Yeah,
I was going to say there's actually and I used to think about this whenever I started anything new. Like when I've chopped and changed jobs over the years and I've moved to a different company, then I had to start again with a new product and maybe new customers. Because even though I was selling to hospitals, it might be a new product that's sold to a new department within the hospital, like medical imaging or oncology or emergency, whichever. So I'd have new customers and a new product to learn. So it was like I went back to the beginning again. And there's this what's called, but I knew in the back of my mind, this is the personal development kicking in, I knew where I was in this learning ladder. In the old job, I was at the top, and now I'd started a new job. So starting a new skill. So if you're new in selling or new playing table tennis or new getting on the camera, everyone starts at the bottom and you haven't done it before. And that bottom level is, you've probably heard of this, Aldwyn, the unconsciously incompetent. You don't even know what you don't know.
Yes.
Then once you start doing it, it was like me in my first sales job. Once I got out there and tried to pick up the phone and talk, I realized what I didn't know. Then I became consciously incompetent because now I knew what I didn't know, and it terrified me and I hated it. And I started beating myself up, lack of personal development. Then you move up to the next level, which is being consciously competent. So now you've gained the skill and experience because you've put yourself out there. You've done it more often and regular, repeated consistency. That's the key. And then you start getting better at it. You may not be perfect, but you're certainly better than you were. And so then, but you're still working at this. You're at when you're consciously thinking about it, you can do it well. The final level is level 4 is the being unconsciously competent, which is where most of us probably are. If we've been driving a car, for example, for 3 years, 5 years, 10, 20, whatever, 50 years, you know how to drive a car. You don't have to think about it anymore. You just get in the car and you just drive. In fact, you probably listen to the radio, eat your sandwich, drink a coffee or whatever on the way. And you're listening to music or even having a conversation with someone in the passenger seat. So you're still driving, you're doing everything, but you're doing it and you're unconsciously competent at it. So everything you try to do, whether it's putting a new video out on, like going Facebook Live or doing a podcast interview, doing a sales call, a sales presentation, whatever it is, and you've never done it before, you are going to start at the bottom. But if you know, well, that's okay, you won't be there for long. The way to get up this ladder quicker is to get the training, get the support, maybe get a coach, get a mentor, and maybe a manager can help you, and take action, consistent action in whatever it is you're doing it, and keep doing it. And if you do that, you will start learning and moving up the ladder quicker. That is how you gain confidence. You gain confidence by taking action. You don't go down to Woolies and go, can I have a bag of confidence, please? You can't buy it off the shelf. It's too easy. No, you've got to go out and work for it. And that means taking action. You do consistent action, and you can't give up. Because I always say, you don't fail. No one ever fails unless they quit. So when you quit, then yes, you failed. But all the successful people, all the big names in your industry, the big names that we know in the world, they are successful, not because they haven't failed, because they have had their failures in inverted commas. The difference is they never quit. They learned the lesson and they just kept doing it over and over. They found new ways. They learned what went wrong. They found out a better way, and then they dust themselves off and they just keep moving forward. And I know that you and I, Aldwyn, are still doing that today, building our businesses. Things don't always go the way we wanted. What do? What went right? What went wrong? How are we going to do this differently? Dust yourself off and off we go again. Take two.
Oh, absolutely. There's a great saying. It says fail forward, right? If you fail at something, doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means you failed that one time, right?
There's a new way not to do it. Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that.
You've learned a new way not to do it.
Yes, a new way. You learned it. Yeah.
Fell fast, fell forward, and fail often.
Yes.
You fail your way to success.
Absolutely. And in fact, every wealthy person who's an entrepreneur, millionaire that I know has at some point made some major boo-boos, as far as, nearly all of them have been ripped off at some point. In fact, I got ripped off 40 grand with something that I threw some money at. And I thought, this is a great investment. And I lost the whole lot, right? It ended up being a scam. I mean, that was 40,000. I think, okay, well, it could have been 400,000. I know someone else lost 300,000, right? I know others have lost more than that. And this is the thing. We've taken big chances, and some of them have paid off and some haven't. And that's the thing. Are you willing to take the big chances in life? Are you willing to step out of your comfort zone? And are you willing to, take that next step and do whatever it takes, right?
And back yourself. Sometimes you back yourself with the time and effort that you put into your business. You back yourself with the money that you invest in your education, your training, all the software that we have to use in building up a business. It costs money to do podcasting. It costs money to go to networking, those, organized networking events. Everything costs money. And so you're investing in yourself, even doing the personal development and getting the coaching and the training. It takes time, it takes money. But if you're prepared to do that and keep doing it and get the support, then you will eventually be successful. It's sort of a given. Just don't give up.
Yeah, absolutely love it. And what other elements have we got to your sales confidence formula? Can you share some more gems from that?
So with the sales confidence formula, obviously the sales confidence is that foundation. It's that top thing that we have to start with. We have to get all that mindset stuff right first. Once you've got that, then you can start implementing the sales strategies. I call them the strategic sales actions. And so if you don't have the confidence, you're going to be reluctant to take action on these strategic actions. Now, I work with over the five strategic actions, from goal setting and looking at your purpose and your why and everything, into planning and preparation. And the most important one is prospecting. Now, if you haven't got your mindset right, you're going to struggle with the prospecting. Now, it could be cold calling like you had to do, knocking on the doors, but cold calling could be picking up the phone. It could be sending out emails. It could be attending meetings. And it's just about going and finding different ways of finding your ideal customer. And prospecting needs to be done consistently. And the reason why a lot of people don't do it consistently is because of the fear that comes up about prospecting. But if you don't have that fear, if you have the right mindset about what you're doing and your right mindset about the quality of your product and the fact that there's people out there that need your product. And if you don't get out there and find those people and sell to them effectively, then you're doing them as well as yourself a disservice, because people are suffering out there because they need your product and you're too afraid to go out and talk to people. So that helps with that mindset. But prospecting, going out and finding your clients, is a very important skill. It's a strategic skill that needs to be done. And that, once you're successful at that, then you're going to get in front of people. So that moves me on to the third pillar of my sales confidence formula. So that's where we start looking at having a productive sales conversation. And this comes last in the three, because you need to be doing the prospecting and all the planning and preparation before you get to have a sales conversation. So some people think they can just rush out and go and start talking to people about their product. But if they haven't dealt with the confidence and they haven't, prepared with all the strategic actions, they're not going to be ready to have an effective, productive sales conversation. But when you've done those two things and you're ready, then you've got to take people through. There's a sales conversation process. So there's many elements that need to flow and connect. And there is a skill and an art to that. Otherwise, people untrained will go out and do the verbal vomit. And we've all had it. Someone knocks on the door and does the verbal vomit about their product. They don't bother finding out whether you are the right person, whether you even have a problem that's relevant to what their product's all about. So knowing how to have a productive sales conversation is critical, and there's so many elements to that. But when you get all of those three, the confidence, the strategic actions, and the productive sales conversation working synergistically together, that is like the sweet spot. When you've got that all working together, and it doesn't happen overnight. It happens with learning and implementing, and keep practicing in all of those areas to help you get better and better. And that's where coaches and mentors and managers, supervisors, people around you can help support you in improving those skills so that you can get them all working together.
Beautiful formula. So for Frank here, for example, my staff need the confidence, he says. So what would you say to Frank when he says something like that to you?
Well, I'd say to Frank, if your staff need the confidence, then this confidence training is probably what they need. So you need to find out exactly. I mean, generally, yes, they might all need confidence. There might be different people which have different levels of confidence. So probably doing an assessment of your staff to find out where their needs are, and then working out exactly what the right training and support they need for their for their confidence. So it depends on, are they door knocking? Are they are they BDMs? Are they telephone salespeople? So different staff will need different things, but the foundation really is to deal with that mindset. It's that the chatter in the head. What is it specifically is stopping them from moving forward? So working with them on that level, and they can do it themselves. I mean, on my program, we go through this with the sales confidence formula. Everyone goes through it and they do the activities. They get an opportunity to talk about it, share in the community, and also help each other. So yeah, that's what
fantastic. Frank's saying, where do I sign up? Where do I sign up?
We'll have a chat. You want to have a chat? I think we're going to put at the end, there'll be an opportunity, an offer to have a conversation with me if you wish. We'll put the Minett Sales Academy /offer, an offer to have a conversation with me, and we can have a chat about what your needs are. And that's part of selling, isn't it? It's finding out what the needs of people are. So I invite people into my program. I don't work with everybody. I want to work with the right people. If I was to work with a sales team, I want to work with the right sales team that I feel comfortable working with, and making sure that what I offer, my solution, is actually going to help them. There's no point forcing your product on someone where it's not going to give them the outcome that they're looking for, in which case, as you said earlier, you refer them on to someone else. So until you have that, what we call a needs analysis, a conversation to find out what's going on and how we can help, and then decide yes or no, do we work together? And I think that's important. You don't want to be forcing your product and service onto people who don't have a need. They may have a need, but not now. But if you're trying to force it on them, there will be a never. So you don't want to cut them off at the ankles. You want to build a relationship with them. So start with a conversation. And that's why I never sell directly on any podcasts. I only ever invite people to give me a call, book a call. So they are booking the call. They book the call with me. I have the conversation with them, and then we find out whether there is an opportunity for us to work together. And that is it's not selling. It's basically a nice, soft, non-sleazy way of being able to present an offer to see whether the other person can see, benefit from what I have to offer. So yeah. We'll have a chat. That's probably the best.
And that's actually a phone call, correct? Not a Zoom call? Phone call.
Yeah, just have a conversation. Yeah, telephone. Yeah.
Telephone. The old-fashioned way. The old-fashioned way. And that link, for anyone who's listening to the podcast after this streams today, that link is minettsalesacademy.com/offer. I'll spell that for you. MINETT sales SALES academy ACADEMY.com/offer. OFFER. Okay, so that's where you can connect with Katherine there. Thank you so much for that link there, Katherine.
And any questions, if someone just wants to have a chat about, to see what I do and how I can possibly help, just get us. It's not a no commitment on it. It's more just have a conversation. If you feel that it's something that I could help you with, let's find out if I can.
Yeah, and find out if you're someone that Katherine would want to work with as well, right? Because it goes both ways, right?
It's like an interview, isn't it? I always think whenever I was going for a job interview, often the people doing the interviewing would think, do we want this person? And I'd be sitting there thinking, do I want to work with this person? And there's been jobs where they've gone, oh, yes, the agent would say, yeah, they want you back for a second interview. And I said, never. I am never going back there. That was awful. I don't want to work with them. So and it's like, and it's like, it's two ways, Yes. It's got to be a mutual agreement for any success in the future. And if one person's feeling pressured into into an agreement, then it won't work long term, and the results will not be there. So don't pressure your prospects into buying from them. Present your product and your solution in the best way you can, in a skillful sales way. And if they're not ready now, keep that relationship going, so you potentially have that opportunity that they'll be coming to you later.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. And Frank is an absolute gem of a person. I'm sure he's someone you would want to work with, because I know Frank personally, and he's a great guy. So I'm sure you'll have a great conversation when you
look forward to it.
when you both do that. Fantastic. And we could just keep chatting, Katherine. I love chatting to you. However, it is time to start wrapping up. And so for those who want to connect with me as well, I would love to connect with you. Please stay connected on my link tree. Has all my links, linktr.ee/Aldwyn is spelled ALDWYN. And if you haven't checked out Media Queen TV on YouTube yet, we have 900 videos on there. I have a BitChute channel, a Rumble channel. We're now setting up a podcast for all the Media Queen TV episodes, all the old episodes that are on our YouTube. We're now setting them up also as a podcast, so you can actually check them out on Spotify, on Apple, on iTunes, etc. All the podcast platforms. And you can check out some of those. Thank you so much. Now, Katherine, any final words before we wrap up today?
Final words. Well, I'd like to thank you very much, Aldwyn, for this opportunity to be interviewed on your podcast. I'm learning all the time as I do podcasts, and this is the first time I've been on this live stream software that you use. So some education for me. I might move towards that as well. Thank you very much for your time. And everybody, I will be interviewing Aldwyn on my podcast. So look out for that. It'll be in a few weeks' time, and we'll be putting that copy of that interview of Aldwyn on my social media network. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, LinkedIn, and also on Aldwyn's as well. So we'll be chatting again, but next time I'll be interviewing Aldwyn. So look out for that.
I can't wait. And what's your show called for people who want to look that up?
Oh, we call it. It's not on a podcast channel. We're still babies in the wood. My co-host is Liz Carroll. She's from Intergalactic Business Solutions. She's a bookkeeper, and her co-host left. And so when she was about to interview me on her podcast, so she then invited me to co-host with her. So I said, yeah, why not? Give it a go. Never done that before. I'm into podcasting now. This is at the beginning of the year. And the best way to learn, baptism of fire, just throw myself into it. Anyway, so now we've got the Liz and Katherine Talking Business podcast, and it's not on any podcasting platforms. We are just at the moment putting it out on our Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram platforms. So mine is Minett. You'll find me on Minett Sales Academy. So if you want to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, just go to Minett Sales Academy and you'll find me there. And on LinkedIn, I'm Katherine Minett, Sales Coach and Trainer. So if you want to follow me, that'll be great. And then you'll see my future podcast interview with Aldwyn as well.
Yay, can't wait. Thank you so much, Katherine. Thank you for being our guest today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I love chatting with you. I could hear your accent all day. And I know you don't think you've got much of an accent, but it still sounds quite UK to me. Quite okay UK. I like it. So thank you so much. Thank you, Katherine. Thank you for being our special guest today on Media Queen TV. And for all those who've joined us live or who are watching the replay right now, please let us know in the comments, what are some of the gold nuggets you got from this conversation today? What are some things that you learned today? Let us know in the comments, and that helps everyone who is joining us to actually get the main gold nuggets from this interview in this chat. And if you've enjoyed what you've seen, then please subscribe to Media Queen TV and connect with us on our links that we've got there. If you're a bit nervous getting on camera, I challenge you to do the Global Good News Challenge. Check out Global Good News Challenge on Facebook. Check out the Facebook page. Pinned to the top is all the details on how to participate. And also in my Linktree link there, you'll find my calendar link as well if you want to book a call with me as well. I'll be happy to chat with you also there. And just to wrap up now, do you have a favourite quote or motto that you live by, Katherine, that you'd like to share with us today? A favourite quote?
I think, well, not anyone else's. One thing I always say, and one of the things I always say to my students, because it comes up a lot, is if it's not scheduled, it won't happen. Because And that is so important in sales and in business. If it's not scheduled, it won't happen. So someone might be thinking, oh, yes, I'm going to do your challenge, or I'm going to give Katherine a call, or whatever they think they're going to do. If they don't put it in the calendar, then it won't happen. It's just a dream. It'll be forgotten about. But if it's important enough, schedule it, and then it's more likely to happen. So, and it's amazing how many times I say that to my student, and I say, did you schedule it in your calendar? Oh, no. So yeah, if it's not scheduled, it won't happen.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And particularly in business, there's always like never-ending stream of things to do, right? Even when you do have a big team, there's still a heap of stuff to get done when you're playing a big game in life. And if it's not scheduled, it won't happen. I absolutely love that. And that could be even going on a date or exercising or having some you time down at the beach. If it's not scheduled, it's not going to happen.
Or prospecting. Right? If you're in sales, prospecting, schedule time in your calendar to do the prospecting. If you don't schedule the time, it won't happen.
Yes, turn those suspects into prospects. Yeah, use that one. That's a great one. I love that. Thank you so much, Katherine. And a quote that I'll leave you with today is one from Margaret Mead. It is, a small group of thoughtful people can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. Thank you so much once again, Katherine. Thanks for joining us. Share the love. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Let us know in the comments. And if you've got any questions for us as well, then feel free to reach out. Love to connect with you. And we'll be back with more exciting episodes of Media Queen TV. And check out Katherine's podcast as well. The name again of the podcast, please, Katherine?
Liz and Katherine Talking Business Podcast. It's on my social media channels. Minett.
Yeah, Minett Sales Academy, and Minett spelled Minett. Oh, Vanessa, hello on LinkedIn, says, God bless you. Well, God bless you too, Vanessa. God bless you too, and God bless all of you. Blessings to all of you. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you back again soon. Thanks once again. Bye for now.